Okay, perfect. Welcome everybody to this next office hours. So like I mentioned in the email, it's quite a few exciting updates to go over today. There's two library releases that I think are quite interesting that I wanted to show how they work. Then we're gonna get into stations. So for folks who aren't familiar, they're kind of a digital representation of your shop floor, and they're a good way to control what versions are running at each of the station, and you can view information. You can see like a live preview of the apps that are running. You can view what devices are connected, who's logged in, what time zone, all this kind of information that I think is quite useful. And then finally, we'll get into a useful API to delete records. So essentially when apps go from development to production, it's often useful to empty out tables. So I'll show a quick trick that needs to be used with caution because it just deletes permanently all the records, but it's a good thing to know. And for folks that this is the first time joining, we typically provide some updates and then go through questions and answers. But if at any point when I'm sharing something, you have any questions, please feel free to stop me, ask any questions, or share any information. If I'm going too fast or whatever it is, please don't hesitate to stop me. So the first thing I wanted to share is the OnShape unit test app. So for those who aren't familiar, OnShape is a web-based 3D modeling software. So basically, and here I can just actually open it up. But it's pretty handy. It's kind of like SolidWorks, but all web-based. So you can manage parts, assemblies, bill of materials, anything that you typically do with 3D modeling, you can do it with OnShape. So this is my OnShape. It has some documents, has some assemblies, that has some parts, and that type of information. So in the library, as of the last release, there's a unit test connector app that basically allows you to connect to your instance of OnShape really easily and get all the information out of it. So you can just come in here if you haven't installed it. I've already installed it, so I won't do it again. But if you don't have it, you can just come in here, install the app, and then it uploads it automatically to your instance. So I'm just going to open up the app here. So I'm going to go to change. Actually, let me just need to change something real quick. Okay, perfect. So if I open up the OnShape unit test app, you'll see it's a pretty simple app, but it loads. It's going to connect to my OnShape, and it just takes a second here. Well, what's happening? Why is it not coming in? Let me see. Because I was in yesterday's. Oh, here it is. Okay, perfect. So you can see here basically what happened. And sorry, because I modified something yesterday, but essentially connected to my instance of OnShape. And here the first thing we're seeing is all the documents that I have within my OnShape. And they're kind of organized. They have all the IDs, the human readable document name that is visible, element ID, workspace ID. Of course, just like this, it's not that useful because it's just kind of a whole bunch of IDs that aren't displaying that information. But once you connect to it, you can kind of dive in to the part studios and assemblies and get more information on these parts. So you can come in here, view information. You can see the element type. You can see, and again, this is not displayed in a very user-friendly way, but it's just it displays how you can connect to your OnShape and then get information in, and then you can organize this within your app any way you'd like. So if somebody's assembling something and they need the bill of materials, you can easily connect to it and display it all within an app. Okay, does this make sense? Do folks have any questions? You see, you have all kinds of information. You can see the body type, the ID, and so forth for the specific part. Does there anybody actually on the call use OnShape for 3D modeling?
I do kind of casually. I don't use it professionally, but I
Okay,
found that a couple of years ago.
yeah, it's a good tool.
It really is. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a full service CAD software that's free. The only stipulation is the free version. All your stuff is public, but
Just public, right? Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good point. And actually, I've noticed that a lot of people use it for more for personal use, but it is a great tool. And if you do want to connect it just to learn how the app works, you can download the app from a link here in the chat. Um, but maybe, uh, yeah, just interesting to start to take a look at and see how it works. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Jordan. Perfect. So the next thing I wanted to share is the checklist app. So Simple Checklist app was released in release 16, and it's a really quick and easy way to build checklists. So if you have any procedure in your facility where you kind of have to do like any checklist like pilots use before they take off, you want to build, okay, before something can be produced or before maintenance on a machine, you need to do steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just need to verify that they're all done before turning on the machine. You can do that using the Simple Checklist app. So I can come in here, manage. So here I have all the tasks, and then here are the procedures, which are essentially the checklists. And then you can see here how they're all tied to one another. So, for example, if I come in here and I add a new checklist, I'll say, okay, I'm going to create a check machine, for example. Click create. Here we have it. Now it's one of our checklists that are available. I can manage the checklist tasks. So either from the existing tasks within my account. So for example, I have this task. It's not, sorry, these are not very well named, but actually, let me just come in here and create a new task. I can say change oil, for example, for 20 ml of oil. Task type, it's just a pass fail. So yes, no, 20 mLs have been added. I can create this task. Great. And now I can just add this procedure, so this task here, to the checklist. And you can see, actually, sorry, it added it by default because I was already in this checklist. And now I'm just, I can ready to go if I want to basically begin a new checklist for this check machine. I come in here and I have the check details. So check oil, I have 20 mLs of oil been poured, pass fail, quite simple, but it's a really simple way to kind of build these checklists to do any process you want. If you're on a Boeing 747 and you need to run checklists, you can just add a series of things. If you need to change the oil and do something on the machine before you use it, you can do that quite easily. Click pass. You can see, because it's the only task in there, you can come in here, complete checklist, and now there we have it. So yeah, that's it. I mean, it's quite simple, but as with all the apps and library, once you install it into your instance, you can go in, modify it, change it any way you need, and tailor it to your needs. But I think it's quite a interesting one because it's really simple, works out of the box, and checklists are everywhere in manufacturing facilities. Okay, awesome. Do folks have any questions about that app? Okay, and I can just link it here. So it's, where is it? Oops, simple checklist. Yeah, because there's a few different checklists. This is the simple one that I think is actually the best one because it's nice and simple and easy to use. So there it is. I just sent it in the chat in case you want to install it. Again, if you want to install an app from the library, just open up that link that I shared, click install, put your URL, and then it installs it onto your instance. Okay, awesome. So next, the next thing that we wanted to cover is stations. So for folks who haven't used the stations component of the platform, it's like I mentioned earlier, it's digital representation of your shop floor. So I can come in here and basically modify. So the first thing you see on the left, you have a kind of a series of station groups. So this you can imagine either it's a facility like I have organized here, or you can you can organize it by if you have different buildings within your facility, or even assembly lines or cells, whatever it is, you can organize this any way you want. So you can come in here and you click create station, you can create a station group. You can say, you know, facility 3. You can add stations to it if you want to, add some notes, click create. But then once you click create, it has created a station group here with no stations in it. Now I can create a new station. I can say station, let me just put facility 3, station 1. Perfect. I can assign a display device. So a display device is basically any device that is running the Tulip player. I'll leave it empty for now, and you can assign apps. So if you only want to run specific apps on this station, so say it's you create a station for your QC check, and you only want to run all the various QC apps that you have, you can easily come here, select them, and just click create, and then it creates a station, for you. Now the cool thing is, if I open up the station that I'm currently running on this computer here, you can basically, so first of all, you can see a lot of information. So you can see live preview. So it doesn't matter that here I'm accessing the stations and the player from the same computer. If it was on the other side of the world, it would still kind of update automatically. So it's it's just a nice simple feature that kind of you can see a live preview of what the user is seeing on that station. So that's a pretty neat feature. It's called live preview. And then on the right here we have information, so we can see who's logged in to that station, events fired. So if there's barcodes connected, if there's foot pedals, GPS, whatever it is, any event that is fired at the station, you can see them logged here, and any edge devices that they have connected. Furthermore, down here you can see, keeping on the right here, you can see display devices. So again, like I was mentioning, the display device is the actual computer that is running the Tulip player. You can see that here. If there are cameras connected for Tulip Vision, you'll see them here. You can see the time zone that the station is assigned to, and you can see the gateways. So then finally, I think this is one of the most interesting things, is you can configure what apps and what version of the apps can run at a specific station. So like I was mentioning earlier with the QC example, if I wanted to come in here and so first of all, only run the most recently published version. This is a pretty neat feature because, so say I run the most recently published version, and then I come in into the app builder and I make some modifications. So if you can imagine, in this scenario, like I make a change to this button, I just move it over here. Well, but they're not I need to restart it probably. Okay, yes. So let me just publish. Okay, let me do it this way. So I publish this version 2 with the button all the way to the top left. Publish version 2, and now if I come in here, I restart the app. We'll see that the button is all the way at the top left. Now if I come in here and I modify this and I put the button all the way here in the middle, it stays on the top left in the here in this player because it's running the most recently published version. If on the other hand I change this to the development version, click save, restart the app. Perfect. You'll see that the button goes to the middle, and every time I make a change to the button, it's reflected immediately. So this is good if you're developing an app or if you're building or whatever it is. It's good to have this like real time, like you make a change in the builder, and it's reflected right away in the player. It's good. But if you have an app that is running in production, of course, you don't want when engineering is built or when whoever is building something makes a change, it's reflected right away. So it's good to manage the configuration of the apps here. So you can add multiple apps if you want. you can decide which version they're running, click save, and then it does all that configuration for you. Good. So that was kind of it on the demo for the stations. Do folks have any questions about this? Are folks already using stations and configuring them with development versions versus production versions?
We are specifically exactly that. We have ones we publish, and then we have the station control what version they can use. So that's been perfect for us.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Mike. Yeah, so oftentimes, if, like Mike was mentioning, if there are different versions, you can actually specify. So for example, if I add this one here, this week's, you'll see that there's various versions. You can assign specific ones. So if you know that version 2 is the one that needs to run today for any specific reason, you can assign it a specific version. So it's a pretty cool feature to be aware of.
Yep, and we also use it when we're grouping by stations. You know, we have certain apps that we want to run in one station. They're titled that way. So when we look them up in the catalog, it runs only the apps from that group, which is really very useful also.
Oh, yeah. So that's a little bit harder to tell from here, but if you see here, basically the way that my instance is organized, I have just 2 folders, Office Hours and Tulip Library. So you'll see they're not indented, whereas the actual apps are. So this is a group, and these are all individual apps. So it's good to bear that in mind, because if you organize yours like production, QC, shipping, in warehouse, whatever it is, it's good to kind of have that visibility into groups versus actual apps. Okay, awesome. So yeah, thanks again for sharing, Mike. And I just shared the link to the support article. So let me just open it back up. But if you guys want to see in your own time, go take a look at how you can set them up, configure all the information we went over right now. Well, that article walks through all the details. Good. So now the last thing that I wanted to share, and actually create a community topic on this on Monday, because various people had asked about this, and I think it's quite interesting. So basically, sometimes tables need to be deleted. So there's, kind of, I see one real useful use case, which is when apps go from development to production, you just want to empty all the information out. Or if there are other kind of corner cases in which, you kind of use your tables just for temporary storage of information or whatever, may be useful to know how this works. But basically, this is a way to delete all the records using a bot. Again, as a warning, as I've mentioned here, this deletes all records, so please use caution. But it's quite easy to set up. So here I'll show you how it works. But I'll open up a table. It has it just has one column in here, no records. I'll create a couple of records. 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. And then if you want, I can also add columns. I don't have to, but I can just come in here, create a text column. Now there's some information in this table. So now what I'll do is I'll copy this element here from the URL, which is the table ID. And now I've created this connector function that all the details are here in this post and community. But basically you can see the method for this HTTP function is delete. Then I have the base URL, which is my instance. Then API v3 tables / table ID, which is what we just copied, and then records. So now if I post this in here, and I'll just open it up in parallel so you can see it happening in real time. If I come in here and I just paste it in this URL, I click the test button, boom, you can see no records are found. It just emptied the table for me. So again, this is quite dangerous because it deletes all the records from your table, but it is a really good way and fast, simple way to empty tables if you ever need to do that. And I think it's quite valuable to know. Do folks have any questions about this? Okay. You also want to share that you can, if you in here at the end of this URL, you also add the a specific record ID. For test, you can basically delete individual records. So this is also really good to know because if you don't want to empty out an entire table but only a specific record, you can do that. Just enter the ID, which is the first column in the table. The test, it deletes that individual record. So now the last thing I guess I want to mention on this is that this is all running from the connectors interface. If you want, you can also build an app, to kind of make it a little bit easier to do this. But for this demo, I just left it from the connectors function interface.
Gio, what about querying? Can you do it like you want to query and pull certain records and delete them, like a mass update?
Yes. So this, and to be honest, I haven't used it yet, but I know that there is an endpoint to get a query. So are you saying like if there is a query built on top of the table?
No, say that you've got 500 records and you want to delete all of them that start with DEF.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So actually, if they start with DEF, I'm not sure if you can do that, but maybe, what about if like a specific column matches a filter?
Right.
Yeah, so you can do that. So for example, let me just do a quick demo of that. Okay, so I'll create a couple of columns. Okay, and then let me see here, GHI. Okay, so here, for example, would it be useful to delete all the ones that are like have hello in here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we can do that. I think it also exists for here. Let me see. Basically, what you're referring to is called filters, which it doesn't look like it's available on the delete method. But what we could do is basically would be a two-step process. So we would get because if you see here, you see this endpoint here gets the table records, gets a list of records from a Tulip table. So what we can do is basically get all of them that match a specific filter that we apply. So for example, we can apply a filter on the text column to match. Oh no, and look, actually we can, because we can use the starts with. So we can do actually what you were describing earlier as well. Let me create another filter. So we'll try getting all the ones that start with AD, for example. So I'll come in here, I'll duplicate this one. I'll click get records. Perfect, and then I'll copy. So the way I do this, I always go to the support article, tables API. Then I search for filter, and then I just copy this one here because it's all built out already. But actually, it's quite easy. So let me see, field.0 dot it's, you know what, let me just put it in here actually. Okay, so limit 100, let's just leave it in. Sort by sequence number, sort direction ascending, that's fine. And then field, so let's try putting the ID in here. Argument AB, because we want to start with AB. Function type is starts with. Perfect, and then I'll just paste in this here. And let's see if we test this. Okay, perfect. So you see what happened here. And sorry if I didn't describe it really well as I was doing it, but I was just Well, I hadn't used it before, so I wasn't sure if it worked. But basically, what we're doing is we're applying a filter on the ID, the argument. So what it needs to match is AD. So it needs to start with AD, and then the function type it starts with. So now that we have these two elements, when we go to delete, we can just, we have the IDs here. So we just delete these records here. Did that make sense, Scott? Sorry if I went through it a little bit quickly.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, but can you run it then to actually do the delete? I see that it filtered them.
Yeah, so to actually do so I would recommend actually building an app, and I can do this. I would like build an app and then delete them from there. And here, let me just I'll show you real quick. So get records, we'll create a new output so that we can store it. Type object, there'll be a list of values. Okay, perfect. So result, body will just be this. Okay, let me just test this to make sure it's working correctly. Okay, perfect. And actually, I'm only interested in the ID. So I'll paste this in here, test. And actually, you know what? I don't even need to do this. I can just do it directly in here. List of values for the ID. ID, okay, now we have an array of IDs that are coming back. So we can save this function here. Let me just do this so I can identify it. Okay, I'll open up the app here. Perfect. Okay, so first thing is I'll add a button up here to get the IDs. So say, okay, when the button is pressed, run connector function. What did I call this? Connector table API in brackets like that. Perfect. Get records by ID as a new array, IDs to be deleted. Perfect. And then we'll display this variable here. Variable will be IDs to be deleted. Oh, you know what? Actually, we need to embed an interactive table. Let's do this because that way we can add a okay, so let's just test it out from the app. Okay, so didn't put in the I always do this backwards because this actually needs to be a new variable. Okay, it needs to be deleted variable. Oh, sorry, I'm doing this a little bit of a roundabout way. But basically, once you have the IDs in your table, you would add a connector function on the row selected to delete the record by each of the IDs.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? Sorry, I feel like that wasn't very clear.
No, I got it. So, but the bottom line is you'd have to delete them one at a time.
Yeah. Okay. So, correct. Bottom line is you're correct. So we added queries and aggregations in the last or a couple of releases ago. Yep. So that was the first part of release in which we'll add mass update as well, in which you can not do it one by one.
Great.
Do it in mass. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. Yeah, awesome. Sorry again if that was a little bit confusing and all over the place, but yeah, fundamentally you understood the concept correctly. Awesome. Do folks have any questions or things that you've built that you'd like to share with the rest of the team here?
This is Jay, hey, from Chicago.
Hey.
How you doing? So last week, Scott was talking about a text file import. Do you remember that?
Yeah. From
And so
yeah.
there's a company called CDATA. It's a driver company, and I just downloaded the 30-day trial, and I got a text file to import into SQL, and then I made a connector.
Awesome.
If people want to see it, I don't know.
I would let, yeah.
You want to see it?
Yeah, I would love
to share. All right, so
Yeah.
share screen, right?
Yep, go for it.
Okay, there we go. So, yeah, the name of the company is called CDATA. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. This is what I'm using. I think it's called a BI, their BI ETL sync program. So it's going to take this text file. Let me open this up. It's actually CSV designed, but there is a way. I actually had to come in here and then down here there's a way to change it from CSV to tab. Scott, is yours a tab or fixed length, or what is it?
It's actually just a carriage returned file.
Carriage return.
We could do tab delimited though.
Yeah, that's what I did. So this is my file right here. So it just basically has year, integer, year, month, integer, then work order, heat number. This was a different project. I just used this text file.
Yep.
So what happens is this connector runs like a job. So here's the job. And then the first thing it does is drop the table. So like, for example, if I come back in here and let's just wipe out one of these. So it'll be, instead of 26, it'll be whatever that is. Save, and then you just run the, you run the, so it should have been less than 26. Yeah, so it's now 20. Then I go into Tulip.
Sorry to interrupt, Jay.
Yeah.
Where was that file stored, by the way? How did you access it?
Oh, that's just, so it was in the connector. So good question. So let's go back to where that was. So when you set up the connection, and just so you know, it's way more than just CSV files. Pretty much, there's a ton of different things you connect to, and that's all included. So, once you get one connector, you can make as many as you want. I actually use this for QuickBooks, a little project that I had at a company. I synced QuickBooks, which, so any kind of updates to like the customer table or whatever gets synced to our Azure SQL Server. And then, so I just basically, anytime a customer updates, it doesn't have to do the whole entire, it knows by like the modify date what should be updated. So it's pretty efficient.
Okay, awesome. But that file itself is stored like there it is.
Yeah. So it's right here, and it's just, if you see, it's actually, it'll say, if I go to, it's just local. There's one, that's the local. So if I go in here, it's CDATA. So if I go to my PC, oops, data, it is sitting right there. There's the text file. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah.
And this is what it looks like. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So what it did is because Tulip allows for SQL connectors, I just basically took this text file and I made it into an Azure SQL table.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then, so if you go up to here, I made a function, right? So if I just run this test, oh, work order, why didn't that work?
Oh, maybe you deleted the one
Oh.
that was in there.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Classic. Classic. That should work, right? This one, copy. This value. There you go. Make sense?
Yeah,
Cool.
makes sense. This is really cool. Yeah, Scott, I guess would this help in what you're trying to build?
Maybe. So I'll have to look into it a little bit more. That was
Yeah, CDATA, it's great support. They're huge. I mean, that's like amazing. All the connectors they make. It's bizarre. So I actually have a SharePoint connector. So the other company I solution provide for uses ODBC. So I have a SharePoint ODBC connector, planner connector. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, it's like very helpful for what I'm doing, connecting. And it's like, that way I have like one platform. So in Tulip's case, I would just do everything in SQL, just get everything from CDATA into the Azure SQL database. And then I have everything I need.
That's pretty cool. Thanks, Jay.
No, I remember last week there was an issue, so I just played around with it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, this is awesome, Jay. Thanks.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, thanks again for sharing this, because it's yeah, there's lots of situations in which there's text files that, you know, kind of, you know, you can upload them as a CSV into a table, and that's convenient. But if you can do it, you can automate it, just like have a job run every X hour.
Really good point too. So there's so when you get into the job part, you can have it like there's a way to do here, let me edit this. There's a way to schedule it.
Oh, nice.
So you could schedule it, but you could run APIs too. So say if you wanted to trigger it to run not like every 10 minutes, you just run these, you know, either command line or the API line, and it runs then.
Oh, cool. So you can do it for all from Tulip. So you can, like, whenever you need to run a trigger.
Right. So if you could run it from, yeah, that's the cool part, is that you can, and I should have had that done. I was thinking, hey, it would be cool to trigger it not from hitting this button here, but from Tulip. But you know, I didn't get to that far.
Yeah.
But that's a cool.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it, but it could be that OneDrive has some also some native, because I'm assuming all CDATA is doing is they're connecting to OneDrive's API and kind of getting the information out. So if there was a way also to avoid doing this using CDATA and like going directly to the file, that would be also interesting.
Yeah, right. No, I just was, you know, any way to get around. My whole thing is just keep the connector as consistent as possible. So instead of having 20 different types of ways to connect, right? Just have one way, and then you get really good at that.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. I mean, I definitely see like a lot of the most interesting Tulip use cases are ones in which there's data that is like coming in from a bunch of different places, and then Tulip kind of acts as the front end for.
Yes,
that's
what I think it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's awesome to see this. I'll definitely keep digging into CDATA.
Yeah. I mean, it's not cheap. That's the problem. Is when there are cheap ones. Like if you go to MySQL, it's obviously cheaper than Azure. So there's like free. If you do like MySQL is almost free, and then I think the Azure connector is like $800 or something like that.
Okay.
So, but it's like, if you're only doing a text file, is it worth it? you know, the whole thing is that opens up the entire suite of what you can connect.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's
And then
once you
the
have-
other thing too is, can you have it in like service, like one computer that has the driver that's doing all the processing, you know, instead of having it in like lots of different places, you know, like
Yeah.
one driver doing all the work.
yeah,
It's
Yeah,
definitely
no.
cost.
yeah. This is awesome. Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks for sharing this, Jay. I really appreciate
no
it.
problem.
Scott,
No
you have, is there any other information that would be useful?
No,
Basically-
no. What you did to, like, I was trying to play around to make an app, and what I saw what you did, and that will help me to actually go to the next step. So,
Okay, great.
and then I like to try to you know, like maybe for next time, try to figure out how to run it from Tulip, because you're like in the app and you want an updated record,
Yeah,
right? You don't want to like wait for time. You know, it was like every 10 minutes, it's kind of dumb, you know?
no, yeah.
You
I
want
mean, it looks like it's really easy. You see that API trigger? You can just copy all that information into Connector.
think so.
Function.
Yeah,
No,
they'll be fun. Like, so for next week, hopefully I could get to the running of it, and then also like where there's an app using it. So
yeah,
cool.
that would be awesome. Yeah, looking forward to seeing it.
All right,
Cool, thanks, Jay.
no problem. My pleasure.
Yeah, yeah, really
All right, so I
awesome.
gotta end my. How do I do that?
Theo, I've got a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, can I share my screen?
Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see here. Okay, can you see this?
Yep, we got it.
Okay, this is actually Ryan's app, and I think he's joined the room now. He had to be late because of another meeting, but we have a question for you about specifically about this step. And so, got it. Let me just get it going here in the developer.
Awesome.
Okay.
Love to see that.
So what we'd like to do, so this is giving the makers a look at the bill of materials. And what we like to do is show a picture. Does this shirt look like what's on your tray? And then this table down below shows the BOM. And you can see that there's a part type. Right now, we're not sorting by part type. It would be nice to do that. But really, what we want to do is present a way of selecting from the various part types. So one of the things they need most often is they need to say, show me which threads I'm supposed to be using. So we might have a button that, or a drop down that says they pick part type thread, and it shows them just the threads. Eventually, there'll be pictures of these parts as well, but we're having trouble getting beyond just a table presentation. Or, yeah. So this data is coming from a connector.
Yep. And is it a connector to a SQL database?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so my suggestion would be if you basically to add an input to that connector, and basically the input would be filter, for example, and then you pass in an input from the app when you run it. So if you want like a specific thread or a specific fabric or whatever it is, you can pass in that input, and then when the connector runs, you know, in the SQL query, you can say filter by, and then whatever the input is.
So, okay, walk me through this. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that I understand. So I think what you're describing is like here, the person has to pick what their role is first. Let me see if I can, how can I go back to that? Oh, here we go. So the first thing they have to do is pick that they're a maker. And then they scan in the card. So what you're saying, I think, is also have them say that they want to see thread. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So you could add another filter here. That would be, for example, thread.
Like right here.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
then this would be stored in another variable, and you can have all your various options in here.
Dropping down
Yeah,
to different
yeah,
part types.
yeah, exactly. I was envisioning drop down. It doesn't necessarily have to be drop down, but that was what I was envisioning.
Okay.
And then if you go back here to the app editor,
Sorry, where?
just all the way here.
Got it. Yeah.
Yep. And then go to apps and then connectors. Yeah. So that's the one. Okay. Okay.
Oh, so pause just a second. Does this happen to anyone else? Do you see how there's only 2 lines? Which got me the first time this happened. If I just move this bar a tiny bit, now I can see my whole query.
Whoa.
I just wanted to point that out because it was freaky until I knew what to do.
Yeah, thanks. Let me take note of that. To be honest, I very rarely use SQL connectors, but that's, yeah, it looks like, I wonder if it's like,
It's
to do with
this
resolution.
window, something about this query window. If I make just a tiny little adjustment, it fixes. So
Yeah, I
I
wonder if
just
it's,
wanted to point that out.
yeah, it could be with the resolution of your screen, but that's definitely something that I'll create a ticket for the engineering team to take a look at.
So I think before I interrupted you, were you going to describe, like, how do you get the query to require that input or use
Yeah.
the input?
So for example, if you were to copy this, just temporarily copy this function.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, actually, sorry. Just clicking this one here, that
That one.
exactly.
My
Exactly. So
Zoom box
here,
was in the way.
yeah. So now you see here how you can modify exactly the input. So right now it looks like you only have one input for
Mm-hmm.
Q. If you wanted to, you
Uh-huh.
could also add another filter, add another input, sorry. And for example, thread or something like that. Part type, exactly, perfect. And then in here, so you could put it, I think, all the way at the end. Select, left join, where? Yep. And then you can put like a filter by. Press enter. Yep, and all caps, filter by.
Oops.
I think that's, I haven't.
One word, 2 words.
No, I think it's 2 words.
Okay.
Yep. And I can just, while you're doing that, look it up real quick.
I think it's recognizing.
I think it's
No,
and. Would it be and part type equals? Like where the where statement is? Wouldn't it be and part type equals?
Oh yeah. Thanks.
Ah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So it'd be and then whatever your field name for part type. But it's whatever the field name is. And then equals that part type. I'd actually like put an underscore in that, I think.
Yeah, and then well, here you need to use the input.
Up here, like right up here, I'd put an underscore and not have that space in there, but
Gotta use a $sign here.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So it's $sign. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, so dollar
Like-
sign and then part. There it is. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that?
Yep. So now, just if you can test it out, do you have an SKU available?
Yes.
And then thread, right? Well, you need the thread. You need something in part type.
Yeah, exactly. And like thread, for example.
Yep. There you go.
Dang.
Yeah.
The only thing is you're gonna have to have both conditions or it's not gonna work.
Right. So
Mhm.
you're gonna have to like make them fill that out.
Unless you
both of them.
Unless you could use, I don't know if a wild card would work. If you passed a wild card for, say, part type.
So you do like, if you did like, and then embed a percent, percent, inside if you did that like before, does that make sense? Like if you did a like instead of an equal, I don't know if you could do that or not.
Right here?
Yeah, like, so instead of like, and then I don't know, how can you concatenate? I don't know if you concatenate, do you add a plus there to concatenate? You need to concatenate to that. Did that make
Yeah.
sense?
I think it's
Plus?
no, maybe was it? Let me see, because I have an example here.
Yeah, so if you did like a percent, then if you had nothing in it, it would do the percent, which is everything. That makes sense. So if you have something in it, it will do thread. If you don't have anything in it, then it'll do everything. But you
Yeah,
have to concatenate like a percent sign somehow into the variable.
Yeah, so it might be coalesce, might be the command in SQL. Oh no, sorry, it's not that one. It's let me see.
It's not plus. Here, let me do it on my side here.
Yeah, I think it's actually just concat. So
Like,
yeah, exactly. And well, actually, then in parentheses. So concat and then open parentheses. Yeah, and without the space here. Yeah, and then comma after the part type. Yep. And then was it wildcard you wanted to add afterwards?
it's a percent sign.
Percent. So then you can
Yeah,
put, I
percent
would put
is
it,
a SQL wildcard.
yeah, I would put it in single quotes. Yep. And then it looks like you still, yeah, exactly. So give that a shot.
Okay.
So just test it like, yeah, so test it. So you got something and then get rid of thread then, and then see if it works. Nope.
Ooh, phooey.
So,
Do we need light?
yeah, you need like for sure. And
Okay.
and then maybe that same concat in the front of it.
Thank you.
In the front. So it's like thread, you have percent before thread percent before thread and after thread.
Like that?
Yeah, but you need the comma too, right?
Yeah, comma, and then it needs to be in single quotes.
And then single
yeah.
quotes, yeah. Okay, now test it
Now
with
test
thread
it.
in it. Test it with thread first. All right, we got something.
Let's see, and we're getting just thread, it looks like. Yep. Okay.
No,
Dang.
shucks.
Yeah, but it's I think Jennifer, you're really close, but it's just a matter of figuring out this part here. But is it actually necessary that you need to return something when it's empty? Because you could also just include like a.
Should it be a skew equals still, or does that need to be changed? For this
What was
to
that
work?
term?
The skew equals, should that still be equals with that on there? Or
Yeah, I think it should be.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you know, Gio, do you know if test value like says null? Because if it's percent null percent, it's never gonna work.
Oh, yeah. That's
You know what I
good.
mean? Like, so if it's blank, this will work. If this is null value, then I'll say percent null, which is never gonna work.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's a really good point. So if
Yeah.
you just try putting a space in there in the part type instead of thread, Jen, to test it out.
Put a space.
Yeah, I just want to see how, like, if it's stored with some space.
Dang, it worked.
Yeah.
So you see, yeah, but space, yeah, I guess it would be okay, but.
Yeah,
Mm.
and,
But that's actually a value. So you have to say like, if nothing in there puts space, right? You'd have to have like a trigger.
yeah, exactly. You do
So
that on-
really, what I want the user to do is make a selection, and I like the
Yeah.
idea of a drop down.
Yeah, you need a
So-
drop down. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really sorry, but I have a meeting that I can't
Yep.
miss at the top
Oh,
of the hour.
shoot.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I
So-
would love to stay here and solve this, but Jennifer, if you could post this on community, we can. There's lots of professional SQL query writers at Tulip who can help you out.
Awesome.
But if you're gonna do a list, it's gonna be equal, not like,
Yeah,
Okay.
right? Yeah, for sure.
awesome. Yeah, really sorry to have to end this
Okay.
so abruptly, but I have a meeting that I can't miss. But thanks everybody for joining. Thanks for sharing all this. This was awesome.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for the help.
All right,
Yep.
thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.